This is a mini lesson analysis on Marth versus Puff. Should probably gone for the Nair there rather than that fair. Nair would have probably given you a better full follow up. Be careful about just zoning in place right when your opponent isn't close by. That means you could get hit by things like pound and approaching aerials. And in order to confirm stuff like that, it's better to give up space. And there is a place to zoning in place, especially when your opponent is also kind of just standing there as well. They're zoning in place. But generally speaking, zoning in place and taking space like you did just generally loses to like hard attacks. So by hard attacks, I mean just like they just do a normal approach. So generally speaking, when an opponent commits to an approach and you just hold space, generally the opponent wins that. So now obviously there's a little bit of nuance, but that's kind of the broad RPS overview. And a lot of times of how you've gone hit so far is you holding space in some way, and then your opponent just attacks. And look at that, you gave up space, and then you just did a reactive with punish there, and that's how you generally play neutral. Puff being no exception. Probably should have went for a down tilt or a dash attack. Dash attack give you like no value there. And at the same time, when you're giving up space though, you don't want to give up so much space where literally no interaction can really happen. You only want to give up space to the point though where like you were close enough in theory to hit the Puff. So overly giving up space, kind of like how you did earlier, doesn't really do you any favors. Like you always want to be within your opponent's threat zone ranges. Probably shouldn't do that counter. When you have time, when you have all the time in the world from grabbing a ledge, doing that counter is not necessary. And yeah, did not need to go for that grab, honestly. Like, dash grab is a little weird, where it can be a justifiable mix-up, but definitely don't overzone on that. If you do that, you'll get reversaled, and again, you kind of greedily took space there. And now you're just playing way too far away. Like you only want to give up space when you're somewhat close to your opponent. You don't want to over give up space. Otherwise, you're accomplishing nothing, and your opponent can just very safely take the space, making you at a relative disadvantage. And when I was critiquing about you zoning in place and how the opponent just attacks, the same thing applies also in like juggle states as well, where like oftentimes you're also swinging in place and then the Puff just drills or bears, and it's a similar concept. Like you want to give up space when you think they're going to go on their way down attacking, because sometimes up tilt in place by out zoning them. But general rule of thumb is that your most reliable way of juggling Puff is when she is attacking, and then you just get out of the way and then you like attack back. But again, when you get in too much space like you're doing, then you're accomplishing essentially nothing. So it's like you're doing some good things. There's also a lot of positions, frankly, where you're not getting a lot done. And that's why it feels like, I don't know if you have this feeling, but it feels like you're doing something severely wrong. And it feels like stocks are kind of drawn out. It's 4 minutes, and like, this is on pace for a timeout, but it's not because you two are overly camping, but that's because there's a lot of like empty interactions, I want to say. And that's because like, while you get hit sometimes, a lot of times you also just give up space a little bit too much. And also like the punish game isn't really super well mapped out from either sides. So it's funny how like this is kind of on pace for a timeout, but it's mostly because there's a lot of empty interactions like these. So, keep the main RPSs that I said in mind, but also at the same time, do it in a way where the interaction is meaningful by being close enough to threaten, at the very bare minimum. And yeah, I could have definitely dash dance a little bit better around that drill. And yeah, I mean, again, you were so far away, but you just didn't have the opportunity to really punish that. And that's like a big consequence of also playing too far away, is that when they do like pull the trigger, you're just too far away. And to be honest, I really don't need to watch. Well, let's finish this. There's not that much left. But honestly, it's like there's just a lot of empty interactions that I don't really feel like I need to mention much more at this point. And there's like a little bit left. But it's like also the reason why a lot of interactions are panning out a lot more than they should is because also your punish options are not great. Like you could have went for like a Rising Fair combo and like it would have led to more damage than the throws. You could have gone for a dash attack here rather than that forward smash or that Rising Fair. So it's also like a lot of unoptimized combos that is resulting. That was also a pivot forward smash confirmed that you could have done. So there was also a lot of punish inefficiency as well. So that is why if you had the hunch that you're doing something wrong, it's a combination of a lot of empty interactions and also very inefficient punishes. No threaten for edge guards here. Juggles, most of the time you're just getting reversaled. Again, no like real threats here. So it's like that's the main reason why that's like the biggest flaws, I want to say. And then he just kills himself. So, I basically said the summary towards the last talk. So yeah, good luck. Having more meaningful interactions and being a lot more efficient with your general punishes.